Welcome back to Sao Paulo for the Intel Extreme Masters Brazil. We are already underway in League of Legends in Group A. We've had one game already, and that was a pretty interesting game, I thought.
It was a mental game, to be honest. I
Yeah.
wasn't really expecting it to end up how it did. I mean,
I think any of us did.
We saw those team fights going the one way pretty much the entire time. That one by Dragon was pretty much the exception until it came to that last fight.
Yeah, it was all down to that Amumu landing that ultimate. He kept hitting Nocturne only because he kept diving back into the backline onto Caitlyn. But once he did land it finally onto actually it was 5 members, I believe it was.
You sure it wasn't 6?
It wasn't 6. No, I can count now. To the 5 members, ended up winning the fight.
I thought it was a great game to watch, really, really good. This next one should be really good as well. It's MYM, of course, the winners out in Singapore this year in the Intel Extreme Masters, and of course Millenium, who only have 15 points in the rankings, which means they're outside the top 12 right now. So a really big game for them. I guess you could argue that if they lose this, they've still got 2 other chances to try and get into the semi-finals, and they have to reach the semis to qualify for the World Final.
Yeah, and I think this is on paper as well the highlight game of the group. Millennium versus Meet Your Makers, 2 very, very strong European teams, and I'm not sure which way I want to call this one. Millennium, obviously, they've had this drama with Heidal not anymore there, Fat Mama coming in to replace him before this event, so I'm not really sure how Millennium are going to perform coming into today's games.
Well, especially when you just saw them go 0-2 against Meet Your Makers in the European LCS where they're trying to qualify. I mean, it was completely one-sided. We saw, unfortunately, during those games, Anguish in the top lane was playing Jax. Both of them got completely shut down. But after talking to him a little bit, it wasn't actually his fault. I'm not going to go completely into it, but they kind of worked it out, let's just say. And Fat Mama, who's replacing him, is going to be the new support. And I'm kind of curious, do you think you think he has what it takes to kind of get back into it? Because he was formerly on Team Black.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Bacon Livers are crazy cool.
Yeah. Great name. But yeah, he's definitely up there with some of the best supports in Europe. The question is, have they had enough time to actually gel this one as a 5? See that Anguish closest to your screen at the other end, obviously.
And apparently you're a better Jax player than he is.
Don't know about that.
He's a pretty good Jax.
Not quite an Anguish's level though, but at the same time, he brought that Jax out at the LCS qualifiers. Didn't really impress too much, in my opinion.
It was really unfortunate. He kept getting shut down in the lane, and then their bot lane would unfortunately just die once or twice, and because of that, the jungler had to focus on the bottom lane and wouldn't give him any help because he knew he couldn't really beat that Shen in the top lane. It was just kind of a farm fest, and Shen would eventually overpower him, but hopefully get those kinks worked out, and they'll come into this game, a completely new team.
So we also have an interesting stat that was given to me by Carsten, and I know he loves his stats and his maths and what have you, which is that MYM have qualified, of course, for all of these different events all the way through the season. If they finish second here, then they would have completed the entire group. They'll have had a first, a second, a third, fourth, a fifth, sixth, and a seventh, eighth.
Wow.
So second is written in the stars, surely.
Possibly.
Nothing from you two. Have you given up on betting or something, Joe?
Yes, pretty much.
Right, okay.
I lose too much for all that kind of stuff. But Meet Your Makers have been looking very, very strong. As we said in Katowice, they went out because of the time ruling, which ironically they went through in the groups, or certainly in their group. In Singapore, there was a time ruling as well in that group. So that's the funny thing about this one. Again, everyone's got their eyes on Millennium and Meet Your Makers from this Group A. But we've just seen that Pain, there are definitely no slouches in this one. And I think that at the end of the day, we could see an upset coming out onto one of these 2 teams.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, to me, we talked about it during our cast, is that, to me, Brazilian teams have a hard time closing out the game. They can do fine, for the first 20, 25 minutes, but they can't take the advantage they build up early on and just win. We saw that in that game. We saw constantly Pain would engage. They would only catch one with the ultimate. They couldn't win the fight. But then again, on the other side, next they knew they could win the team fights, and yet they didn't push out their base. They didn't try to force anything on the other side of the map, and they couldn't get a foothold.
That was the oddest thing about it, wasn't it? It was almost like, well, you've won the team fight. Now go and take the turrets down.
Right.
Dare I say it, fairly basic sort of gameplay, really. But they just didn't do that. They just didn't get those issues. So let's talk a little bit about the tournament. We're in Brazil, Sao Paulo. It's very warm.
It's a little warm.
It's like 50 degrees higher than it was for you guys in Warsaw last week, and about 40 degrees higher than Katowice, where we were a couple of weeks. So
I'm warm.
Yeah, it is. There's no doubt about it.
You can probably see the whole.
So I feel good wearing a shirt, not a jacket.
Well, you look like an idiot, but I suppose as long as you're cooler. In some sense, at least, of the word
while
cool.
these two insult themselves, let me explain to you the Intel Extreme Masters. It is, of course, a full season. And we are in the final stop of that season right now. Last one before the World Championship, 5th to 9th of March. Don't forget it's at Seabit this year again. And $44,000 up for prize money this time round here in Brazil. Winners get $15,500 for first place. And of course the winners automatically go to the World Final. But where it's different here, guys, is that actually there are only 3 slots left. So
yeah,
we're going to find out whether... Well, we know that the 2 finalists will definitely get slots here, unless it's not MYM. So actually, we have the graphic for you. So let's show you exactly who's qualified for you. SK Telecom T1, as we said earlier. Meteor Makers are already guaranteed to go through. The interesting thing is whether they can actually finish highest in the rankings if they actually get through. Gambit are also through. Absolute legends from the NA. Fnatic, SK. And also, here's the weird thing. Atsubu Blaze, they're through. They had enough points from Katowice, no problem at all. But here's where it gets interesting. EG, who were formerly CLG EU, they have enough points to not be overtaken by 4 teams. Okay, so they're currently in 8th place. 4 teams from here can only get a maximum amount of points from the semi-finals is 35. So only 2 teams can overtake Team EG, which means they're definitely qualified. The interesting one on here is Azubu Frost. They only have 35 points. And they're tied at the moment in 9th with 4 other teams. Now we know that only 2 teams from here can also get 35 and only 2 can beat them. That leaves them in joint 12th, but we also know that they're the only team that got 35 points from Katowice, which is actually technically and mathematically the strongest event of the year. So there we go. That's why Azubu Frost.
I got so lost.
I tried to explain that as simply as possible, but you can see there are 3 spaces remaining.
And the fact is that really any of these teams here, in my opinion, from this tournament could end up taking those 3 spots.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm really curious. Is that Absolute Legends NA? That's the spot from Singapore, so they got 2nd place.
Absolutely. So they're in there at the moment.
Well, the problem is they're not together as a team anymore.
So there'll be a change. But they're the absolute qualifiers as it stands right now. Whether they get a team in or whether they bring them back or whatever, they've got the spot right now. If they decide to decline that, then obviously we then look back to the rankings and it gets super complicated for Carsten.
Have fun.
I'm really looking forward to that conversation with him.
If you get into it, you're playing against some of the best teams in the world. You know, EG, Gambit, Azubu Blaze, potentially Azubu Frost. I mean, you can easily make a name for yourself there. And for a Brazilian team, that would be ideal. That would be perfect.
There's no guarantee, of course, that even if a Brazilian team reaches the semi-final here, they would actually then qualify, because they would then go into a group of teams that are level on points. One of which is CJ Entus, who actually went to Cologne, which is the next strongest of the 3 we've got left. So they would actually then pick up a spot. So for me, I think in its simplest form, we have to say that if a Brazilian team wants to go to the World Final, they have to reach the final here. It's as simple as that for me. They might get a wild card later on when it drops down and we figure our way through the rankings, but if they want to be absolutely certain, they've got to reach the final.
Well, I think pretty much what we can say here is that first, obviously, we'll go through.
Yeah.
2nd and 3rd here, pretty likely that they'll go through.
Yeah.
And obviously then it depends who is going to win this one, if it's Meteor Makers right at the top.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? If Meteor Makers win this, they actually make it a bit more complicated because they're already through. So they're sort of taking a spot that would have been someone else's. So if MYM don't make the final, we are guaranteed that whoever then makes the final will definitely make the World Championships. That's one thing we can say. If MYM do make the final, it doesn't matter who the team they play against are, they will also make the World Final. If Millenium reach the semi-final, they're definitely in the World Finals as well. So really, there's only 1 spot left. I know there's 3 on the graphic, but there's actually only 1 spot left. It's so tantalisingly close for these Brazilians, but yet so far away. So we'll see how they go. I'm interested to see.
I would really hate to be Carsten right now, having to calculate that all out.
Carsten and I spent a bit of time yesterday. I think it was about an hour going through these maths, and I think I'm pretty good at them, but Carsten blows my mind.
Well, Jason can't even count to 5, so there's no reason that he should be involved with all that stuff.
Indeed. Let's move on.
I'll take that just so I don't have to be involved in it.
So let's also take a quick look at Group B. Tomorrow's game's coming up. IEM, of course, incredible miracle from Korea. Nexus, Keyed. I'm really interested to see how they work out. And Insight Esports as well. You mentioned earlier they've had a change of roster as well.
Nexus used to be their team.
Absolutely.
And they left.
So another interesting group. 2 what you would call formidable teams in that group that would go through. In a Nexus and LG, I think you probably favour the European and the Korean team in that group, but there's a chance there, surely, for the Brazilian teams.
Well, there is, in my opinion. I said it before when we were on the other desk there that, you look at Group A and you say Millenium Meteor Makers, you look at Group B and you say LGIM and a Nexus. However, these Brazilian teams have got really nothing to lose here, actually. They've got the crowd behind them, which I have to say, guys, you guys here in Brazil are absolutely fantastic. Pretty much giving me shivers when I hear you guys all kicking off there. So keep that up, and these Brazilian teams definitely have a chance to pull off some upsets.
All right, well, we're going to get into the picks and bans now, so let's see which way it goes for MYM versus Millenium.
Right, well, we've seen this happen before in the LCS. I mean, Taz is an amazing Fizz player. Obviously, going to ban that out against him right away. We do have Makata, who likes to play Udyr in the jungle, one of the few left in, well, I have to say the world. Also plays a lot of Kale during the LCS. And then, on the other team, you have Inga. She can play quite a few champions. He's actually pretty good at Jax. Unfortunately, we didn't see it happen during that, but he's a very formidable opponent in the top lane. And then you have Libic in the bot lane support. We saw an amazing Sona out of him during Intel Extreme Masters clone. We saw an amazing Zyra out of him at Intel Extreme Masters Singapore. So there's a lot of champions that you could potentially ban out here. And that Nilly ban obviously target towards English, which we talked to them about how he's been practicing a lot in the top lane.
Yeah, he has been practicing this Nilly, as a kind of main alternative to having that Jax up there. The Fizz ban is...
That's for tabs, surely.
Yeah, sure, it's for tabs, but I'm wondering why they banned that out first, whether that's full-on respect ban, as pretty much is Twisted Fate towards Charu, or whether they're planning to go something like Karthus in this middle lane.
Yeah, we did see actually Kha'Zix left open last game, and I was kind of surprised why he wasn't picked up, but banned here. We do have, in the mid lane, Charu, he plays an amazing Wukong. At LCS, he did an amazing job. Still available right now. You still have Olaf available. So many champions that you could potentially pick from, even Shen.
So Olaf and Kha'Zix banned, which we didn't see in the previous game, but then neither of them picked them either. So we're back in Europe territory again, and Olaf and Kha'Zix are the banned.
Yeah, we'll see what Meat Makers go here for their first pickup. Wouldn't surprise me to see them go in towards that Shen as their first pick, a Kale, which a lot of teams have been practicing, not only in that mid lane, but also we've seen him in the jungle as well. Yeah,
Makata played him quite a bit. I wasn't really super impressed, but what Kale brings to that late game is just so devastating. I mean, you have a heal, you have a nice slow, you have an auto attack range, and then you have the ultimate, which, I mean, I cannot tell you how many matches during that event last weekend where it was so crucial, as we do have Mordekaiser being hovered on, which obviously won't actually be locked in, and if so, I will shave my head.
Oh. Quick, someone tell I'm so fresh to lock that in for this game, It's worth it. Well, that's obviously a more standard pick when we look at recent times. Curse of the Sad Bullet time. I've not been that impressed with what we saw at LCS and Katowice with it. The Korean teams seem to have it locked down, but for me, the European teams haven't impressed so much just yet on that.
Yeah, it's kind of...
And there's a Wukong, just to throw it in.
Still, Wukong, very strong champion to mix in with a Mumu if you want to go for him. But, they were hovering on a Mumu for quite a while, and yet they switched over to Misfortune last second. So, are they trying to bait the other team to pick in a Mumu? Because you can technically use that Wukong ultimate as an Mumu ulti. If you pair it in with a Zyra support or something, then you have the double knockup. It could be a bait, as now even Mitri Makers is hovering over that Mordekaiser. But Zyra picked up for Libic, extremely good on Zyra. And even in Singapore, I believe he had like 3 kills, 0 deaths, and like 2 assists, was leading his team on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and he is brilliant. I mean, from what we've seen him in, Zyra obviously plays a mean Nunu as well. Really fantastic player, and someone that Makler can certainly be happy with. There is the Amumu again, which I would expect to be picked at some point in with that Wukong in there with a Misfortune. Caitlyn, I wouldn't expect with Blanc, B. I'm just going to show up
now. They're missing with us right now. Diana?
Actually, we haven't seen any Diana since she got kind of nerfed down, and then not too recently she got buffed a little bit, her and Rengar.
One of Tab's best champions as well.
Yeah, statistically it definitely is. But this Lulu, again, as a support, adds nicely, and obviously you could do the same kind of thing with Sona in there, but I think Lulu Misfortune in the lane is a very, very tough one to go up against with that slow.
Virtue, you also have pretty good wave clearing. I mean, just Lulu alone with that glitter lens through an entire wave. Obviously, Misfortune can't really pair up with that too well. It goes more towards a Caitlyn with you can build over Peacemaker right behind it, but still, very strong pushing lane. The ultimate late game is going to be devastating if you pop that on Wukong, who just knocks him up twice because of that. You do have Ezreal being set on, which Makler, I mean, what AD champion can he not play?
And not play to a brilliant level as well.
I can't think of any.
Yeah, we've seen him pretty much playing the entire range and doing well with him. So it's a hard decision now for this middle lane because that one last slot that they've got left over. Okay, so it's going to be a Zyra mid. Jason,
well, I mean,
didn't really expect that one to come out.
Not at all. We saw Xpeke play it quite a bit though, over on Fnatic during the LCS. Did pretty well with it. I mean, can still do a lot of damage. The ultimate is really nice for control, but it just depends on how well you can actually land that. I mean, because that's the key. It's not the damage out of it, it's the knockup is really what sets your team up. But still, I mean, you have a really solid engage if you have the Sona Crescendo mixed in with the Zyra ultimate, and then if anyone ever gets low, which Zyra, very squishy champion, you have that Kayle ultimate to back you up.
So what's going to be the last pick? We've got that Wukong in there, which we'll see. I think that to be honest, Tabs will be quite happy to go in that middle lane against Azira. I mean, you've got the root, obviously, that could cause him a few problems, but we'll see how that one all goes down. They obviously could go with something different for this middle lane now.
Blitzcrank's. I mean, obviously not going to be picked up here, but Blitzcrank has been open this entire tournament so far, and he's such a devastating champion to see. And Katarina.
So, a top lane Katarina, we're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, last game we saw Payne run it. Wasn't super impressed, just because, it wasn't even his fault. I mean, he couldn't get the, they couldn't lock down the entire enemy team to get the damage to start getting those resets, but we'll see how they actually use it this time, and it will actually be going over to Anguish. And Joe, I was about to say Charo wasn't using his Ignite, just popped over to his wasn't using teleport and just picked it up. Do we need to see Tabs actually pick it up? Because obviously he can interrupt at level 6, but that's a long ways away.
I don't think so. Tabs, I think we've seen him play not so much with teleport. Charo, on the other hand, it's a surprise if he doesn't pick up teleport throughout the time. But what do you think, Jason, to these two lineups that we've got? Who do you think's got the strongest combo?
I love the combo of the Mumu and the Wukong knockups mixed in with the bullet time. Then you have the Lulu knock on top of it. They have such a good team fight potential, and not to mention you have Anguish to clean up with all those resets. Versus the other team, Meteor Maker is still a very solid lineup. You have a really tanky Shen, you have that Kale ultimate, and you have a lot of control if you want to engage or disengage correctly. But I'm going to give it over to Millenium, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm of the same thinking. I think that lineup is very, very strong, but we've seen it time and time again that on paper, brilliant lineup, that AoE comp that can go very, very well, or it can go very, very badly for you. And we have seen that happen. So the fact that Millenium have Fat Mama coming in as a replacement for Heidel, have they got the timing down? Can they pull it off?
Guess we'll find out.
Yep, it is the questions we are going to find out in a very short moment as well, because we are about ready to get this one underway. This is the second game of Group A, of course, in the Intel Extreme Masters Brazil for League of Legends. Let's go over to our commentary teams in both Portuguese and English.
Hey everybody, welcome to the casting desk. Myself, Rivington III here, along with Freak, as always, pretty much inseparable here, Intel Extreme Masters in Brazil. It's a first for both of us. The crowd has been absolutely amazing, and yeah, we do get one of the plum matches of the day, as Paul said before. We kind of worked that one out.
So yeah, that's actually thankful, because we came in at 10 a.m. Before the ESL casters, and Paul was like, so here's the matchups, and I was like, dibs. And so they gave it to us, and of course that means that first pick is for the second day is going to go to ESL, but
it's okay.
We just insta-locked that Olaf, insta-locked the MYM versus Millenium game. Should be pretty good. Now, what I actually like about this game, I actually kind of like Meet Your Makers here, because they 2-0'd at the LCS qualifier in Europe, and generally speaking, so the very last game they played against Millenium they played against a poke comp and found ways to basically get themselves through that sort of situation. Where poke comps are very hard to beat. You have to do very specific things to beat them, and they found those openings, initiated those fights properly, and get themselves into those situations. We're going to see if that can play out. We got the game, guys. Let's see what happens here.
And we are going to take this underway, seeing both sides. Millennium's going to be on that top right, on the purple side. Blue for Meet Your Makers. And Meet Your Makers was forced to play a little differently in Europe during those LCS qualifiers. They're known as an aggressive team, Freak, but they were kind of on their heels in that play style. We'll have to see what Millenium can do if they take aggression into their own hands. It looks like everybody's going for safe here. No wards down. Yeah, actually a few wards on the top side, not on this bottom side where everybody's focused.
Yeah, all the champions are very heavily on this side. Basically, you ward the places where you're not going to be standing for very long. So you see this ward up here at the top. They ward that because they don't have anyone standing in this location. They are going to all camp around the golem buff. Once they finally walk back up, then they go down and ward the river, right? So this ward came down very, very late because they were standing at the entrance for a while, and now they want to go back to the place where they keep themselves safe. So, as you said, very safe openings for both these teams, and any team with an Amumu always wants to open up pretty safely. That's just standard fare for them, because he doesn't fight level 1 very well. You can go bandage toss, but unless you win that fight, you're very far behind. Because bandage toss is not a good jungle ability. It's a risky situation for you to do that.
And you're late on the blue.
Exactly. You're going to be late on the clears. You want both Despair and Tantrum when clearing. Game's actually been unpaused. We're back into the game here. 1 minute, 25 seconds in. So no surprise whatsoever that Millenium is safe early on.
I'm interested to see how Mackler plays. He's always a very safe AD carry, open people up like birthday presents at the LCS. Now on Ezreal instead of his, coined misfortune from those tournaments. We'll have to see how the sustain from Libic can really keep him in the game here. Mackler, though, not taking anything away from him that he doesn't have misfortune, still an amazing AD carry.
Absolutely, and the thing is, like that early pick misfortune that that Joe and Jason talked about. A lot of that is targeted at stealing that away from Mackler. Where it's kind of cool how the picks sort of work is not only do you have team comp specific sort of picks, but you also really try. Oh, he missed the ward. He can't see it. Oh, that is unfortunate. Shame on you.
It's a pretty expensive mistake right there, and that's going to be a little bit of control in the bottom lane. I don't think they knew they placed it there, so it's not going to be an advantage used.
Yeah, but at the very least, though, like, you still got the situation where they've lost the blue, Amumu suddenly has to go around, and I love that move by Meet Your Makers. They invaded so late. They said, okay, yeah, you're going to clear that camp, and then we're going to go in force. By that point, at 155 in, they've sent everyone back to their lanes, right? They already had Katarina up top. They'd already sent Wukong in the mid lane, and so it allowed them, that sort of late invade really was a great setup here. Amumu's going to try to steal away the blue, though.
They are making a move. You can see him going bottom lane. Actually, they aren't going to move anything on this, so they don't know Kayle is where she is, but Amumu does know for that bottom lane, or for Kayle rather, and it looks like they will start to push. We saw the Shen and Katarina top last time. That'll go back and forth forever, but it looks like no, Shen will start to move here. Kuban coming down now. He is going to get some help from Angus here, Freak. He's going to be forced to taunt over the wall. So there is that mentality from both teams, know that they want to go aggressive here.
But they did stop the Golem buff, and this is the amazing play that Meet Your Makers did, is they warded this Golem brush before they ever started that invade, knowing that Amumu would go for that after clearing his Wraith camp. And you saw that Zyra came up from mid, Shen came down from top, and they stopped Amumu from taking his own blue buff. He will be very hurt in the jungle here.
It looks like he is going back. Like we said, getting the bandage toss would just hurt, but it's still kind of come to fruition in the same. Mackler taking a bit of damage from that poke lane down bot. Really having that Lulu, you can get out poked, right? That lane works in favor of the Sona as because you have the sustain there.
Yes. Normally Zyra's probably the most Lulu is probably the most aggressive of those champions, has probably the best poke overall damage output, but as you just mentioned, the sustain available from having Sona just tends to beat that out. You saw like at level 1 or 2 how much damage they put down onto Sona Ezreal, and they're right back to full.
It still seems like Amumu is making it around the jungle a little bit faster than Kayle with that Despair and the Tantrum. No ganks coming from either yet, though. Looks like Amumu may actually just go to head towards the bottom lane here after taking Wolf Streak. Everybody's playing very careful, and I guess we aren't really going to see any of that aggression besides the level 1. These guys are going to keep it safe.
Well, Amumu is the kind of champion who just wants to get through the jungle as fast as possible and hit level 6, and as soon as he hits level 6, just tries to pick up a free kill with his ultimate, which is possible, of course. Kayle on the other side, really, because of the early sort of invasion and steals, I take that back for Amumu is going for this here.
Exactly. It looks like they are going to start to pressure that. The ward is not in that forward bush. They actually have their own ward there, and Amumu is just going to sit patiently. There's not a lot of mana on Libic right here. They're probably going to go for him first, and it looks like the ping goes down. Kale's going to be backing in the jungle, so there will not be a counterattack on this, which you would usually see at the 5-minute mark. Both junglers meeting somewhere. Fresh goes in. It's going to be a long range, and he knows he can't hit it right there. Mackler just toying with him.
It was a nice attempt, though. They put the early vision ward down, removed all vision from that brush, and said, Amumu, go sneak in, but they just could not quite find the kill. Nice attempt, though.
So, kind of into that moment, everybody's going to start farming out their lanes free. We have Wukong versus Zyra in middle. What's this? The push lane for Zyra, Wukong to just farm under the turret?
Yes, Wukong's going to have to sort of farm under the turret. Zyra's traditionally very good against melee champions because it's very easy to get those plants into range and deal a lot of damage with them. And so it's kind of a difficult lane for Tabs. Once he's level 6, he has a chance to try to go all in on Charu, especially with the jungler, and try to pick up the kill there. So as far as kill potential goes, it's better for Tabs, but one-on-one, it's a bit of a weaker lane for him. And right there you can see those plants just completely zoning him from last hits. That is a standard gameplay you're going to see from Zyra.
We also see Anguish top on Katarina. We've seen this a lot. A lot of the top laners playing on that Cat, Crumbs, Voyboy, all these guys trading it out. What's this lane all about? None of them coming in here with any mana usage, so they can just keep going at it.
Katarina is going to tend to do really, really well here. About a minute ago, you might have seen her Shunpo away from a Shadow Dash, and Jen just has enough acrobatics to dodge away from anything that Shen can do. You're seeing Anguish up pretty significantly in minion kills because it's a possibility for that champion. She AoEs, she can push down pretty fast overall. You're seeing Shen having to sit towards the back and wait for the minions to reach him. And just every once in a while, you'll see just cooldowns won't quite be up and he won't quite get a last hit on the turret. You're going to just sort of see that over and over be a pretty standard situation.
Freak. I think we're going to see some movement here. The level 6 are being hit, and that's going to be huge coming in from Meet Your Makers. The Stand United, the teleport from Zyra, that invincibility coming in from Kayle if she can also be in the fight. I think level 6 means a lot for Meet Your Makers.
It's really, really important overall. But the weird thing about them is that they're a team who doesn't really want to rush into team fights, so they won't be really sort of daring the opposition very much. Like, Dragon attempts would be kind of difficult for them because up until the point where Amumu gets level 6, before then they have kind of map control. But as soon as I'm So Fresh hits that point, it's difficult for MYM Makers to initiate moves because a 5-on-5 is difficult for them.
A little pressure bottom as the wards go out. Mama and Libet giving each other a few pokes back and forth. Jaru trying to give himself some. No, he actually did not ward. He's just kind of walking around being a human ward himself. I'm So Fresh returns to his blue. This might actually be the first time that he grabs it 7 minutes in. Yeah.
That is going to be his for the first time here. Angush, again, not taking much damage up top. It's very, very good for him. And we're going to see if I'm So Fresh wants to give the Golem away to Tabs. Monkey King doesn't really need blue buff to lane well. And you're actually seeing Amumu is going to get that for himself and really just try to catch up in golden experience here, only level 5.
And they see that actually I'm So Fresh has not been seen for a while. He did walk through the mid. They're kind of choreographed this blue buff, but they're a little late on it.
Exactly. That was a very smart move by I'm So Fresh to immediately beeline for that buff, because that would have been taken away, and the 2-on-1 would have been a kill if he was there.
This looks pretty scary, Freak. We can see Mama. He is sensing this right now. He's so far back off the turret. These guys are waiting. There's not even a fast push by Mackler either. I like the way they're keeping it. They're not saying we need to get to the turret right now. This needs to happen. But looks like they are going to be able to take it down or possibly keep it up low and go for Dragon.
And they're going to go in on Charu. Flash from Tabs, looking for that kill. Ignite is on as well. And instead, oh man.
Wow, an amazing job there. Kuban coming in. Did he actually get the assist on that? He did for the shield. That's beautiful. Great job.
So 200 gold picked up for that.
Yeah.
Just by pressing R. Congrats. All right, so basically that was a really, really good play, and that's one of the things you can do when you're fighting against teleport. That summoner spell is becoming more and more common, and what you can do against that is because you can see it come in, you can prepare for that.
Oh, crescendo onto Lulu, but everybody's out of range of Libic, and they just go aggressive over the line. Freak, you were saying about teleports.
Yes, but they did push her out of range, which means they have control over Dragon, so this is theirs for free. Crescendo, it looked a little wasted, but it got them Dragon. It's worth it.
In the end, it did lead to that. We've seen things happen, few 10, 20 seconds previously that actually lead to it. This is one of those things. 9 minutes into the game, that first Dragon goes off. Our first blood has also gone around in favor of Meet Your Makers. They're one up on everything right now. Just about 1,000 gold as well.
It's very, very good for them. So early setup, very, very strong. Once again, the team fight is really what Millenium is looking for. And so, nice attempt there on the gank. Tabs and I'm So Fresh almost got the kill up in the mid lane. That was a nice attempt. But, you see these little, these 2-on-2 and 1-on-1 plays. Meet Your Makers are actually much better at them. They just tend to have better duelists overall. And so, the more this game sort of sits in the laning phase and they get 1 or 2 kills and turn that around to a Dragon, that's really good for Meet Your Makers.
Charo going quite aggressive, but he gets bandage tossed in mid, finds himself in Curse of the Sad Mummy, and he looks like he was just a little out of position there.
Beautiful play overall, and I really want to hand out the patience from I'm So Fresh. So he landed the bandage toss, waited to land a basic attack before hitting Tantrum and his ultimate. The Amumu passive shredding magic resist from the opposition, it actually increases damage quite a lot there and really helps secure that kill. She might have gotten away otherwise.
Freak, they did a great job. They took down bottom lane, and Meet Your Maker said, let's do it top, switch it up on them, and give Anguish pressure because he's pushing Shen back way too much.
And look at that, Kuban just so very far away, and Tabs, of course, had saved his ultimate, has that available still.
Amumu coming down. I'm So Fresh just on the outside. Could the bandage toss? Actually, he's going to wait for it. Get in. It must be down. They're chasing onto Tabs here. Not able to turn it around. Kale was there for the ultimate, so that could have been a fight for them.
And Kuban still had 4 or 5 seconds left on a Shadow Dash, so he could not initiate. And the rest of the team from Millenium knew that with Kale there, they know they can't tower dive intervention. And so both teams realizing we don't have the tools to fight anymore, we'll back off.
Anguish using everything he can to push MYM off this top lane with that vision. That Mama's team has, that Kuba, Tabs, that all of them have from Millenium, they can push that. They can just focus that bottom lane.
Yes, the 2-on-1s on both sides, really, you're going to see aggressions come from the 2-man teams. So Cat's in a little bit of a difficult situation just overall, kind of getting pushed around, but at the same time for Millenium, you saw that turret kill. Turret getting lower and lower, I should say. That's kind of a big thing for them. Turret kills, as we saw from the first game of the day, really important for teams.
So as Millenium keeps their composure, they bring the game back to completely even at 11 minutes and 30 seconds. I think the Dragon should be up in at least 3 or so, 4 minutes, still pushing this top lane to the fullest extent. They want that next turret down, and it's really been a game of turrets for a lot of these teams so far. They actually choose to back. We'll see what kind of gold is going on here. The AD carries 86 to 93 CS Freak, and they really switched up that top lane because it's 92 CS for Anguish to 66 of Kuban.
And that is a difficult situation. I was just thinking about the math, actually, where Meteor Makers has a dragon and yet are equal in gold,
right.
And that is largely due to minion kill leads. The Misfortune bottom lane actually winning out despite fighting Sona sustain. The Katarina Anguish, as you just mentioned, having a much better showing today than he was last week. And actually talking with Anguish about his team's performance, and his performance especially, he had said that his team had actually planned out sort of dives and invades at the top lane, that he was actually intending to play aggressively and burn through his potions so that his opponent had no potions and was low on life, and his jungler could come in and just get these 2-on-1 kills. And he said the difficulty was that their bottom lane actually had a really rough time in the tournament, and that I'm So Fresh was actually helping out that bottom lane instead of actually coming up and helping Anguish, and so he was overextended expecting kind of jungle presence, and that in this game he seems to have a much better chance of it.
Having a plan B is always a good idea.
Yes.
Still the pushing going down. We see Zaru down to mid now, so the AP can soak up those levels and soak up the experience. Libic putting more pressure onto Katarina. Looks like the League of Warmogs being started by both teams. A lot of damage onto Kuba down bottom. Top still being pressured. They will chase him. Not looking like they're going to get the kill here. No, the flash in. Zaru just missing the root. He will stay alive. The Lulu ult not necessary, but it looks like they're going to come back in. Sharu says, here comes Shen. Can the Shadow Dash be just in range? And it looks like that got stopped. Very nice job by Wukong and mid. Tab stops to stand united.
And in the meantime, that top turret did go down. Excellent by Meteor Makers, just making that 3-on-1 really, really brutal, just pulling all the attention there. And I'm really impressed by Charu because he was basically in a 1-on-3 of some sorts and turned it into almost 2 kills. Had to pull the Shen ultimate, but that's worth it. They popped Shen ult for a turret. That's great.
And the communication, I'd say from Millenium there, knowing the Shen ult was down, if Wukong said something, wouldn't they have gone back onto Zaru? Could that have been miscommunication?
I don't think anyone really had health anymore, though. I think that was just kind of a difficult situation where
Kuba
so
was
much
pretty
damage.
hurt.
Exactly. It's Creatin, by the way. The screen name Kuba, it's Creatin.
Yeah.
Renaming himself, confusing all of us spectators. He just got chunked so hard, had to pop barrier to survive. Timed it very, very well. Actually blocked all the Zyra ult damage with barrier. But yeah, I mean, just Charo kind of made that happen.
Looks like they're just going to pressure this mid turret down. We should have our dragon back up quite soon here. Meteor Makers has a good aggression on this. They're pulling Cat from that top, but now they know they don't have her there. They're going to try for a little bit of initiation. Once Cat gets here, it's going to slow down a bit. Freak, Meteor Makers happy with this pressure right now.
They got a little bit of damage, not much onto the turret, unfortunately. They're just kind of stabbing and looking for opportunities, saying, if you go for one more wave, we'll get the turret down to half. Looked for it, said, oh, no, you made the moves, okay, and turned right back. And to really supplement that, look at the ward coverage up in this top lane. Right, they've already warded, expecting that they will be pushing mid and top. And actually, seriously, every turret is pushable here because they've warded every entrance from across the lanes. Bottom can't come mid without getting spotted. Mid can't come top, and vice versa without getting spotted. It's very good.
Here
for
we
them.
go on to Kale. There's the intervention. She will be saved. The crescendo to really disengage this one. Freak. MYM has to play very safe here. They did put a lot of wards down, but they're going to have to back before they can use those.
That was a very, very safe move for them. Good job getting away from that one. Nice attempted invade as well, but again, we seen the same thing last time where they just got a little bit of damage onto the opposition, pushed their health bars down just enough, and hey look, the team gets Dragon off of it, so very, very good play there. Tab scoring the kill onto Dragon, and Millenium have now tied up the Dragon kills.
So with that, Meteor Makers had the time of the first Dragon. After that push in mid, they all started backing a good 20-30 seconds before they even got engaged on. I feel like Meteor Makers is kind of maybe not worrying out Dragons, maybe playing their own game. We'll have to see what they come with.
5-on-5s. Oh, here comes again. Our bottom lane. Charu's gonna find Cuba.
Oh, the home guard coming in. Here comes Zaru. It's slowed down though. It's gonna be the 80 carry versus him. Can he dodge the crowd control? He does. He should have the damage. One last double up, but no, it's too much from Charu. The 1v1 goes to him.
Very, very nicely done. Just the home guard gank, and I mean, I gotta hand it to Creatin. Very good job dodging the skill shots, but just there was too much damage available. Zyra is hitting really, really hard.
This top lane still just going at it. They've put themselves back on an island here. You can just see neither of them do damage to each other. Wukong in on mid. The curse of the sad mummy coming in. Cleansed on Mackler, but he's still going to try and help here. Looks like Libic will fall. And it is going to be the last dash in from Tabs there to pick himself up a kill. 1-1-1. Not a lot of kills in this game. It's only 2-2.
No, but you can see...
But aggressive.
Yeah, it is very aggressive. They're finding kills in just sort of desperate locations. And that's really what you just saw happen to Sona is the ideal situation for Millenium for an entire team. right? You saw Tab stealth in on Wukong, try to get into range to dash in. You saw a great Curse the Sad Mummy locking up 2. The Cyclone came off, knocked her into the air. As soon as the Cyclone knockup was done, you saw the ult come out from Lulu for a second knockup, and just Sona could not really go anywhere.
So, Freak, as we take a look at the CS right now, it's still largely actually closed up a little bit by Kuban, so props to him. That 30 CS gap, now about 12. But that CS between the AD carries, 148 to 126, with how much Cretan, as you said, Kuba, who's changed his name, was just doing to Zyra himself, left alone in the fight with all the crowd control they have. This is going to be very hard for Meteor Makers to come in, I believe, on these fights. They have a lot of all-in. They have a lot of poke, however, so we'll have to see what they can do.
The difficulty really is the fact that 5-on-5s, especially with the gold this close,
right,
are really in Millennium's favor. Now, to be fair, Meteor Makers does have more gold, so by the very easy metrics, they're winning. They've got more turrets, and that's kind of where that's coming from, is their sort of 2-on-2 plays have been phenomenal overall. The difficulty, though, is if it comes down to sieging a turret, you're seeing them stall out. Right? They got the 3 turrets early on, but now they're like, well, we can't dive because we'll get CC'd and fall. The last Dragon went to Millennium. You will never see them try to like, well, we're winning, let's try to bait Baron, because they won't 5-on-5 well. They're going to rely on Kuban split pushing, trying to pull off a numbers advantage because there's no teleport here from from Millennium. So if Kuban gets a good split push, pulls one over, then they fight a 4-on-4. Pretty much everyone on the Millennium lineup is instrumental to their team fight. All of them contribute to that sort of AoE team. So MYM needs to win a 4-on-4.
Really great ward coverage from both teams right now as they're just trying to find that one pickoff. Last time it was Libic that brought it up to the 2-2, another kill for Tabs, I should say. Now as we come 20 minutes into the game, like you said, Freak, that gold almost completely even, and these guys are so on edge to get this fight started, staring each other down face to face in mid with the teleporters just walking around on the other side of the map. Actually, Katarina can't teleport, so could be a big advantage to MYM here. Tabs goes in, the ultimate is for naught, and it looks like they're forced to disengage.
But that's not too bad because he did burn his own flash, so actually it's not amazing, but now without wait, was that just Arcane Shift? Am I just stupid? No, they burned Zyra's flash. So with Zyra not having flash, it does give them a little bit better of a chance to pull in here. The ult from Wukong, the cooldown is only about 100 seconds, so they will have that back up. Yeah, Tabs doesn't have flash, but that's not the worst thing in the world. He'll have Cyclone back up before Tsaru has flash, and they can go re-engage and actually have that engagement stick.
We also see Cat going for the tanky penetration build. It looks like Zyra actually building somewhat of a pen build as well. Where do we see this coming from?
This is pretty much the sort of best way to deal damage right now. Actually going to find a fight right here.
Yep, it's going to be that intervention onto Kale. They back off. You can see I'm So Fresh taking a bit of poke. You can see just how cautious they are, Freak. Every engagement there. And if I'm So Fresh wasn't even taking that much again onto Libic, he gets caught being the slowest one out. That's what you get for wearing a dress. But they turn it around and they dance it in their favor. Libic actually picks up the kill and says, no way. Saru's going to fall to Ignite as they now try to focus Mackler. The 80 carry is down. A quick double kill for Tabs is going to turn this one around for them. Anguish has fun spinning around. Kuban picks himself up a double, and he might just be able to walk out of this one. I don't think Anguish will have all the damage he needs to kill him, but we'll find out.
He runs too fast.
It's going to be a long one. There, he did throw on.
Here comes the Shadow Dash. Nice move by Kuban.
The wall. They still Kuba's right below him, and he's not helping him. Oh my gosh, this is going to go on forever. So that was a really good fight, obviously in favor of Millennium. Oh, he hits the Baron. It's not going to do enough, though. He's going to keep going.
All right, Kuban. That was very good juking at the end by Kuban, though. He made sure he was jumping around walls, knew that he's only in kind of like a 1-on-2, 1-on-3, and that if he could split up the team, he only had to escape one guy. It's not like you're running around at minute 4 where everyone's everywhere and they can find you. So he got very good jukes. That was really, really well played. And there is that 5-on-5 team fight.
Right.
That
there was.
They just want. Millennium is going to win those battles almost always. Great kills coming out kind of all over the place. And, that's what happens when you've got good crowd control layered together. They didn't even have Cyclone up, and it didn't matter because, again, with important summoner spells down, they can't disengage from situations. You'll just fall over.
And they lost I'm So Fresh very early in that fight to win it so handily as well.
He took so much damage, but that's kind of what he's doing, right? Like, he is the tank. He built a Warmog before that battle even started. If you waste all of your single target damage, which is what Meteor Makers is about, is single target damage, you waste all of that on the tank, you don't have anything left to turn the fight around in the end.
Meteor Makers dancing with danger right here. They are trying to put their upper hand onto the Dragon. This will be their second one of the game. And there's the stun, the great root, and they actually might almost, if he would have popped up Mama there, he probably could have got in for another attack, but the Dragon is theirs. They're happy to get away with the use of an ultimate.
Again, just great play over and over and over again. That's all I can really say is these guys are doing a really good job of picking the fights properly. And what had really happened there was everyone on Millenium was funneled into this sort of area, and you saw actually the Zyra ultimate come out. They could not come through this location. They would have just simply straight up lost that fight hardcore. Even though their ultimates were up, even though they could have theoretically fought, positioning is so important on a Dragon fight that if you can't come in from the right angle, you can't contest.
So Kuba, the most gold in the game to him right now. He's almost got his Phantom Dancer finished. And this team is just going to start wreaking havoc. The shred from Tabs on the Black Cleaver coming into the fight to start that off as they're locked up by Curse of the Sad Mummy. There's just so many pop-ups, knock-ups, and re-pop-ups that Millenium brings to the table that late-game fights are going to be so hard even if Meet Your Makers can disengage these things.
Certainly, this is just a difficult situation because, again, it's just sort of the storyline of this team is Millenium just want to find 5-on-5s. They just want to find those battles where everyone takes all the abilities to the face, everyone gets hit really, really hard. And Meet Your Makers, again, it's going to key off of Kuban. It's going to key off this Shen, trying to pull someone away with a split push. Now, what happened last time, that big 5-on-5, is Millenium just said, screw it, go for it. And you saw I'm So Fresh just run at it and say, give me Whimsy, I'm going to run, I'm going to bandage toss, I'm going to ult, and you guys better follow up. And they forced Kuban to come to them. They forced Meet Your Makers to react and go into that battle and try to pin down I'm So Fresh. If Millenium can't find that initiate, they have no way of pushing Kuban away. They have no way of pulling him off that split push, and he's going to keep getting farther ahead, and he's going to become very difficult to deal with. Because that is the other thing that actually breaks down area of effect teams, is if you are too tanky to die to AoE, you will win with your single target damage afterwards, and Kuban is getting to that location.
No pressure contested on this turret, just a few seeds. They're easily able to walk through that. 6-4 now as we crest 24 minutes in the game. The gold still completely even, and Meet Your Makers is up a turret. These guys are really working the bank accounts right now to keep this one in each other's favor. Still anybody's matchup. We've only seen Dragons be contested. Nothing has even happened at Baron yet. We see the wards going down. No oracles just yet. There's Tabs coming in. Again, the ult missed. They lost one last time on this. There's the pop-up once again. One after the other, stacking them on. The great job from the Black Cleaver and Misfortune's ultimate. They are able to pick up the Zyra kill there. Everybody's quite low health as they continue on to this fight freak. It's going to be Mackler and Libic to run away in that buddy system. But they just made that 6-4 to 8-4.
It was beautiful. And again, it's Shen is not able to show up. He ulted, but they killed the target of his Stand United too quickly. And just how good is that initiation? Tabs found a fight, popped his ultimate, Flash came out from Jaro, and Tabs just flashed right back in, came in there with Cyclone. And one of the lesser known things about Cyclone is that you actually start moving faster as you channel that ability. As you spin around, your movement speed actually increases, and you get faster, faster, and faster. And so he actually was able to catch up to the running Meet Your Makers team, knock him into the air, and then with perfect synergy, Curse the Sad Mummy and Bullet Time shredded everybody. Great move by Melkate, actually ulting Mackler, giving him intervention so he could survive in that fight, but by then it was too late. They picked up 2 kills.
Pushing back down the middle, Meet Your Makers trying to grab some ground here, Freak. We'll see Kuban go back. Probably grab that Sunfire cape up. He does have 1,400. Looks like he's going to be able to finish that, possibly his boots, and get himself back into lane. Actually, he's going to, yeah, he finished his boots and the Ninja Tabi, so he's looking for the defense. A lot of ability power still coming out from this side, from that Amumu, and from that Katarina. Like you said, I'm So Fresh, making sure he uses Amumu to the fullest potential, locks in a bandage toss, gets a hit on, shreds the magic resistance, and that's going to happen to everybody he hits.
Yes, anytime he lands a basic attack, he's going to increase the magic damage there, and so English is going to kind of consider him his best friend.
Yeah.
Now, English won't really pick his targets. He's going to just kind of look for whatever's low and just kind of AoE most things, and the team kind of in unison will fall over, which is, again, kind of the point of this Millenium lineup. But certainly Amumu can help bring someone down a little bit more quickly by shredding their magic resist, and you'll see that occasionally.
So if we could go back and pay a little tribute to Alex here, and he says, you know, sometimes it's best to attack the closest thing near you no matter what. And that's kind of what Millenium brings to the table. You're going to have Wukong and a Mumu in your face when you want to kill Kuba, or Cretan, who it is. And, you know, maybe Angus, she's a little tanky now, but you're going to want that 80 care. You want Misfortune out. How did they get past that line?
They can't really. Their team is not a dive comp. It's not like
oh
it's,
dear.
Oh, here it comes. Yeah.
Oh, there's Libbit caught out once again on his heels. The crescendo to save himself. The ignite will not kill him. The reinitiation coming in. Will Makate be able to do enough damage here? He puts himself a little too far up front. And it looks like intervention may be able to save him for a short period here. He flashes out. Nobody's fallen yet. The MF ult tries to throw it over the wall into the fog of war. A whole lot of disengage coming out for both of these teams. But it's Kuban that says we're going back in. He finds one. There it is. Kuba rather going down by the hands of Mackler. Kuban still trying to chase Mama there. Tabs is also running. We already have members of Meet Your Makers backing. But again, now, he was chased before. He's getting a little retribution now.
That was a very, very good setup there. You saw the amazing setup, but among those ultimates, you had True Shot Barrage landing on top of Stranglethorns and Crescendo, and everyone got chunked. Or I guess the three members that got hit got chunked to about 1/3. And it was a really good play there by, I think, Tabs and Co. to actually land a little bit of crowd control and then disengage and get themselves out. But, great killer instinct by Mackler, picked up that kill, and that just really swung things open because there's no damage output left on Millenium.
And you can see the map mentality right there from Meet Your Makers. They're going to be waiting for this dragon to come up. And it don't look like they're going to have any pressure on it. Still completely warding that blue side plus that middle turret side. Looks like Anguish is there to kind of give a little contest. He's just going to start poking around. They'll have this freak. They do not have a Mumu. They do not have initiation. Another dragon going. The gold still about dead even. Makate getting kind of caught out there, thinking his team may have gone in.
I think he was expecting to ult himself at the end and just missed it.
Yeah, he did get the dragon before they came in, so that was good.
Dragon for a kill is fine, but that thing is, it was so weird because I'm So Fresh did not have an ultimate, and I would actually expect Meet Your Makers to have timed that and know that the ult was still down, and so by all rights, they could have picked a fight there despite being a little bit low.
So maybe this is why they were so slow, Freak. Use everything you have on that dragon. Go ahead, use your smite, your junglers down. We're going to have this free 700-800 damage now over any of your abilities, and it looks like they're not even going to be contested here.
They're going to try. They're going to keep on poking in and out. They have vision. That dragon, it's Baron below a third health. They can't quite stab for this. They don't have smite. They won't quite get it.
Kuban can dive in. He taunts everybody. And there it is. No, it's going to be Tabs that gets it, so they don't even need to use the smite down. And Crescendo comes across. Everybody's kind of stuck in the pit with Kuban right now. Nobody that should be taking damage is, but there it is. Katarina going down. Zaru will actually follow right after. Mackler is the focus right now as he tries to kite away, but Libic cannot help him too much. And it is now going to be the chase from Tabs, the one who was able to grab Baron for his team. They turn around. He jumps right by. He says, "You're not even there to me." And he picks himself up a triple kill in the end.
That is so much damage output coming through there. And as well from Creatin, who just was not getting taken down in that fight. The positioning was theirs, and you just saw how much damage he and Tabs together put out. This is such a good situation. 3 alive. They've got Baron buff. This turret's there's the inhibitor as well.
Freak, that shows strength and domination to the game right now. Goes down to that turret. But with 3 people, Mukong and Amumu were not helping do damage to Baron. Amumu started it and then said, let's go make a defensive wall. That's scary right now for Meet Your Makers when somebody, like 2 people can take down Baron and 2 people can hold you off of an entire fight.
And that is a team with a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Because Baron is one of the hardest things to defend when they're kind of coming at you. They're trying to kind of push you away. And they realize that Tabs is not the highest single target DPS champion. He needs to be there to push away teams. And Amumu, though he is very good at killing off Baron, again, he has that big area of effect crowd control that they really need to actually stop invasion. They need to stop that enemy team from diving in 5-on-4 and turning out this fight to something really, really scary. So the crowd control was left on the outside to block people out and said, Misfortune, just go to work. Kill all the things. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Make everything die. It's a really good play.
Looks like they are going to go over. They do not grab the blue.
Chara got it.
We do see the final, or first I should say, real gap of the money in the game, of the kills. 14-7 now in favor of Millenium with finally a 3K gold lead. It's about the biggest we've seen so far. It was about 1,000 gold before off the Dragon, but these teams have been at each other's necks right now, and it looks like Millenium starting to gain some ground with this Baron, but Meet Your Makers still feels confident. You can see them moving out of their base, but cautiously.
They will be confident in general. They know their gold lead is not far away.
Right.
Just in general. They do know that. There's overall. And a lot of that keys off the fact that Charu has out-CS'd Tabs in mid so hard. Because they can all press Tab and realize, okay, top is close, 80 carries are close. Okay, you got us on turrets, we got you on dragons, you got us on kills. Oh, but there's an 80 minion kill lead. So they know gold's close. They do know that. Now, and only 2 people on Millenium have Baron right now, so they're not really that scary on the map either. Now, again, 5-on-5 is still a difficult thing to fight, but the general power of each team is still close.
So, Freak, we see Ez going for the Iceborne Gauntlet with somewhat of a disengaged team. Is that what he's trying to synergize with, or is it going to be at some point they want to chase back into these fights?
It works both ways, which is great. It's really the sort of mantra of how Meet Your Makers fights, is disengage, re-engage. Because they don't want to fight during those 3 seconds of Curse the Sad Mummy,
right.
1.5 Curse the Sad Mummy, 2 seconds of Bullet Time, and the 4 seconds of Cyclone. They want to get out as quickly as they can with that situation, and Iceborne Gauntlet helps you do that. But once all is said and done, they need to get right back in there and turn those fights around. You saw that in that one battle where they got the beautiful ultimates and got guys down to 1/3 health. They disengaged and then re-engaged and started picking up kills at the end. That is the game plan here for Meet Your Makers. Bait out the ults, get out of there, come back in.
You can see Kale picking up the Zephyr on herself as well, so she can keep out of those ultimates that we were just talking about, get the intervention down on somebody. Millennium's team has a lot of ways to stop what Meet Your Makers brings to the table, so they got to be very careful of how this initiation goes, Freak. Like I asked you before, there's pretty much no way for them to get past the Mumu and Wukong front line, so it's definitely going to be a treat to watch them, and if they can do it, it's going to be amazing.
And ending the game is going to be very difficult for Millennium here, because they have basically one ranged champion. They have Misfortune, and she does not have Cleanse, she has Barrier. Her flash is up, but her attack range isn't even that long. And so the problem is it's hard to get into the turrets.
Wow, that crescendo just hit Kuba. The ultimate goes through. The True Shot Barrage bursts him down. The first kill going to Mackler as they begin this fight under the turret. This is going to be very big if they can continue this. Millennium looks very strong here. The Lulu ultimate onto Amumu. The double kill coming up again for Wukong. Tabs playing so well this game, and they forced MYM off their own turret. And will they be able to take it now?
They definitely have, at least with the next minion wave, the ability to take this turret down. There's actually pings from Meet Your Makers on the minimap, pinging out the Dragon and Baron timers, knowing that they're not available just yet, though. Kuban, I guess he's tanky enough to survive this 1v3, but I don't think he has the damage output to get them out.
It's just going to be really sitting there, causing a little bit of trouble for him. They're easily going to take this down. They have quite a bit of time to go for the next one, but they're going to back out of this. They don't want to waste too much time because they will get in what you said, Meet Your Maker's favorite position, the re-engage.
Exactly. They are in pretty good spots here. Now, I'm surprised he's going to risk it and go for the Lizard. Thing is, that's pinged. They know they're trying to steal Lizard away. And you see them pull off to the side towards the brush, trying to disengage, get farther away. And that is, yeah, he's not going to go down here, but that is really good mechanics there from Millennium. They don't just walk into the Lizard pit. They pull it off to the side so that when someone comes in, they have an easy escape off to the right. Very, very smart choice. All you guys out there looking, when you're leaving someone's base, trying to take away a buff, pull it along a retreat route so you can always get away if they find you.
And while following that, they also set themselves up for a dragon that Kuban's going to pretty much grab all by himself here with a Sunfire Cape, but they have pings going back on him. So they're saying, you know, Cat's fast enough to get in and out, try to steal this. There's going to be no smite there for these guys. It looks like, oh man, that blade come in.
She'll try, she got it.
She got it, and she's just going to sit there and have fun because they know they can't do any damage to her. Oh, he missed a taunt through the wall. Now here comes the chase that's going to go on forever again, Freak.
Anguish has really good damage output here, and with that Lizard buff, he is completely taking him down. Great preemptive ward over the wall, waiting for Kuban to try a Shadow Dash, and oh, he gets the taunt with the dash. Oh my god!
Full range bandage toss. He is going to keep hitting him down. That's that magic resistance shred we were talking about before. The Sunfire Caves burning back and forth, and they finally get him on that one.
That was amazing from I'm So Fresh. Really great play from him. I mean, so many amazing things happened there, right? The early ward from Anguish, so we could always jump over the wall. But the amazing Shadow Dash that came out actually prevented the Shunpo from chasing. It was really nice.
Tabs there forcing the flash onto Sona, so Libic is going to have to be very careful. We have seen him be the initiated on for a lot of these fights. He is getting out, however, and using Crescendo effectively. But the tank coming out from Millennium right now, this is a lot of butts and butts, is just too much. So we're going to have to see Libic can keep himself in that back line. If they can use that poke to really what it's supposed to be used. Zaru's still doing a great amount of damage with his abilities. They just have to get this next fight perfectly in their favor. We saw what happened under a turret Freak. It's looking pretty grim.
This is looking just overall, or on the other side, it's looking really amazing because Millennium's having a great choice of it.
Exactly.
And yeah, so they've got 2 inhibitors down. Again, they're a team that wants to fight 5-on-5s, and now with 2 inhibs down, you pretty much have to sit there and team fight because all they have to do at this point is, with Baron respawn, sit in front of it and bait with wards, and they either give up Baron or they have to dive headlong to stop it, which is the best position Millennium could ever have, which makes me think that they just get a free Baron in a couple minutes. And Meteor Makers, they've got to basically sit in their base and try to kill off minions. And once Baron's gone, you're going to see Millennium go to the top lane and just kind of slow burn the base down. And as long as they sit as 5, there's not an easy way in for Meteor Makers without getting some kind of miraculous pick.
So with the Spirit of the Elder Lizard on Kale E, does that affect the same way as Hecarim's and apply?
It applies. And so he's going to do that true damage, 57 over 3 seconds to everyone that he hits there.
That's
the
nice.
same reason you see people get Leandry, such as basically a different version of the same sort of choice.
So awesome builds coming out here. These guys definitely using a lot of mental capacity as well as physical here as they are trying to bear through this heat and bear through this game. 37 minutes long now. It's definitely stressful. These guys' nerves are on edge at 19-9. These tournaments mean a lot. And there's the initiation right there. The Zoni's going down. Zaru's going to be a huge focus, but he gets intervention as well. Does not use this time to get away, but he did expel another exhaust there. The Shen ultimate comes down. This is looking pretty good for Millennium here. Angus, however, taking a little bit too much damage, is forced to back out. Freak, they're doing a really great job at microing the damage in and out here, and they force, once again, Kuban out of the fight. And you can see Angus is low. Tabs is low. They just cycle the damage so well.
But they've got a giant wave of super minions coming into the base. They will fight 3 full health members of Meteor Makers as Shen comes back in. The difficulty, though, is I think there's too many minions. I think this is the game-winning push here for Millennium.
They are going to be going for this first Nexus turret with that speed steroid on Kuba. As MF, he is just going to plow down these turrets. There is the home guard Shen trying to taunt and stop everybody up. Nobody's really focused on the turret right now. They want that kill. It is going to give them some time to spawn, but I don't think it's going to be enough, Freak. They are now onto the Nexus. Millennium looks to take down this first game against MYM in Group A, Game 2 of the day, and they are going to be the winners.
That was excellent from them. There they are on your screen. Angush really vindicating himself from his performance last weekend.
I'd say so.
Exactly. he had a lot of really, really bad scores. They made that lineup change, putting in Fat Mama for Haydal. And honestly, it seems to have worked. Fat Mama went 0-0-18. I mean, that is the perfect support score. Zeros in those first 2 columns. Awesome things to have right there. There they're standing up. Meteor Makers standing up as well. The handshake to go out on stage. I like how I'm play-by-playing they're walking on stage, by the way.
It's great. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Great job.
But that was a very well-executed game. That is how that team wanted to fight. They fought all their battles the way Millennium wanted to fight them. They absolutely set themselves up for success.
Great credit to Tabs. Took double, triple kills coming out everywhere. Stopped the Shen ultimate more than once in big situations. The time we saw Zyra down bottom that she wanted to initiate back in, and the shield just kind of stayed for 10 seconds. So wow, Tabs all over his game. He played so great in mid, and to be pushed back the entire time from Zaru, to be down in CS and get harassed at his turret, 277 to 161, but he's 8-3-6.
And his just overall build adaptations were so incredibly good. You looked at the home guard coming in so we could get back into fights and re-engage. After getting pushed out or after dying. Even going Boots of Swiftness in general is just a really, really smart choice. We don't see Boots of Swiftness very often.
Well, it synergizes with the ult, right?
Exactly.
You have that perfect movement speed.
You have more move speed. You need, unlike Boots of Mobility, which a lot of junglers want, like Nautilus or Maokai, to get in a position for gank.
Start a gank.
He wants to start the fight and then make sure he can catch up with you and keep up with you for Cyclone.
Yeah.
So those build adaptations really, really, really wise, and that definitely helped. I mean, you sang his praises. I will as well. Tabs, really, really great performance this game.
Yeah, so coming in there, we saw a lot of good play as well. Kuba came in, Cretan on MF as well. They took that away from Mackler. Mackler still had a pretty good game. He was 3-4-4, but that's only because he couldn't get to anybody. We spoke about that at Amumu as well as Wukong front line. They allowed 3 people to do Baron, while Amumu and Wukong sat in the bush that blue team would come and contest that from. They were like, hey, we're 2 guys. We're like an Anivia wall constantly. You can't get by us. And that was how it was in every fight.
And that is kind of standard fare for an AD carry, is that you have to kill what's in front of you first. The problem was they didn't have much damage output to really support that, because Zyra, basically they would either one-shot Misfortune or nothing would kind of die, just because you sort of saw the burst come out, and once in a while you saw Cretan go down. Right. There was a fight at the very, very bottom of the map where they're killing the inhibitor, and they get a really good engage on a Misfortune, and she pops. Barrier flash doesn't matter, pops. The problem was that they, in that situation, had engaged so hard onto Misfortune that they were grouped together and they got AoE'd. So it was funny because even if they did kill Misfortune really, really early, even without bullet time, by nature of doing that, they'd group themselves up to get killed by the rest of Millennium.
With this game, obviously, Meteor Maker is already through.
Yeah.
So they're feeling pretty good. But with that, they have some homework to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to find out what kind of homework they need to do. Hand it over to the experts.
Thanks very much, guys. Yes, welcome back to the analysis desk with myself, Joe Miller. Joe, don't call me Joe Miller.
It's not boring by now, that at all.
I know. And a man who doesn't have a nickname anymore because we've taken it away from him. We're going to give you the chance to give him a brand new nickname because his current one sucks. But more of that later.
I don't think I agreed to that, but all right.
I'm pretty sure he did, right, Joe?
Yeah, he actually did that. So make sure
drunk?
you get your thread on Reddit. We need to find him a new nickname because but I love you just doesn't fly anymore.
Rubbish.
But I'm gonna miss it.
That's not the new nickname. Anyway, let's have a look at the game itself. It's just taken place between Millenium and MYM. Millenium running out winners, of course.
Oh.
And we're going to take a quick look at this first replay, actually. 33 minutes in, when there was a pretty crucial piece of action, guys, right on that bottom turret.
All right, well, let's just give a kind of a explanation of what's happening right now. We do have Millenium. They just picked up Baron. They picked up Baron before with that nice wall off they had. They had that. It ended up running out. They're trying to go for a base push right here. It's 33 minutes in. And let me just kind of show you what kind of happens and why it doesn't really matter, as I'll just slow it down. Cuba, he's going to get caught. I mean, Creatine, he just gets bursted down right away, as you see right there. They blew Crescendo, they blew Zyra ultimate, and with the Ezreal ulti coming in from the side, he's going to die. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. If you look right now, Tabs is in the backside. We have I'm So Fresh as well. And then you have, or not Tabs, sorry, you have Anguish. That's what I was looking for, Anguish up there in the top side, not really being interrupted at all. They blew all their cooldowns just to kill that Misfortune. But with how squishy they are, it doesn't matter because you're going to get so many resets on Anguish right now, popping that Shen ultimate just to keep Mackler alive. But Tabs, I mean, he's full health right now, still attacking away, kills Charu, helps get the resets down, and it just doesn't matter. Like, Meech Makers need to get somewhat tanky just to deal with this lineup because they knew they couldn't get to the back line of the enemy team, and yet they didn't build tanky, and they paid the price for it, ended up going down 0-1 now in the group stage.
Yep. Okay, so...
Well, at that point, there were 3 Warmogs as well on the Millenium team as well. Compare that to the single Warmogs over on the other side.
Yeah.
So we've seen time and time again that you can sometimes decide a fight with like closing your eyes and just looking at the board at the bottom there to see how many Warmogs are on each team, because tanking and stacking health right now in League of Legends is a really effective way to win a game.
Yeah, indeed. Sorry, guys. Before we do that, let's take it all the way back to the beginning of the game. Picks and bans. Your opinions were pretty much that Millenium had the better team composition. That proved right. Early game, no first level fights, obviously, and then 9 minutes before it was quite passive again, wasn't it? The same as we had on that first one. But it actually looked quite good for MYM. First blood, first turret, first dragon, gold lead. And then, where did it go wrong?
We could probably actually skip back to the first blood, which was 8 minutes 20, I believe, because that was a really, really great move. If we switch over to that one now in the game, we can take
you have to give me a second to get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let him do that and we'll talk. It was actually a 2-1, wasn't it? It was a 2-for-1.
Well,
in the end, and the way that worked out in that mid-area.
The good thing is they wanted to gank the bottom lane. Lulu and Misfortune actually realized that something was happening. So what they did to counter that, they backed completely away from their turret. And then we saw Wukong and Amumu push straight through that middle lane to try and Charu, realizing that he couldn't actually get anything there in terms of the gank, just teleported right back to that middle turret, laid the ultimate down, and managed to out-kite Wukong in every way there, the ignite and an auto attack actually finish him off. I think the replay actually is just saying, you don't want to see that.
That was a great radio cast, though.
That's back on the old school
I'm sure you guys
days.
could envision it.
That's old school days. So Millenium taking the first game, and that really does put them in a very strong position. We said earlier, part of the story this weekend is that the Millenium have to finish in the top 4 positions to guarantee themselves a place in the World Finals. They've taken one step towards that. Presumably they only need to win one more game, and against one of the 2 Brazilian, in theory, weaker teams. I don't want to say they're weaker teams because we haven't seen them play against the European teams yet. So
yeah, and that's the real thing that we're struggling to figure out here, is that how strong these Brazilian teams going to be against the Europeans, who they have more tournament experience as a whole. They certainly in the last couple of weeks have I can't imagine that the Brazilian teams have practiced as much as Meteor Makers and Millenium have in these last 2 weeks in the run-up to European LCS.
Yeah, we know they've definitely been watching a lot of demos, though, because they spent pretty much the whole day in here yesterday. Watching VODs from Season 3 qualifiers. So we know they're well up on the strats and the tactics, that's for sure. We will be having a third match of the day coming up very shortly. Just double check, actually. It will be Millenium versus Next. So kind of interesting matchup, but we'll see whether Millenium just carry on steamrolling through. If they win that one, they are guaranteed a place in the semi-final and of course the world final as well. But Next have to make a comeback. They've already gone 1 down in this group. It's the last chance of them for them. So don't go too far away. We'll be back very shortly with more from the Intel Extreme Masters Brazil, live from Sao Paulo.